The Birmingham Stallions remain undefeated. The Houston Gamblers lose another heartbreaker, and 3 out of the 4 games went over 50 total points. All this and more as we break down USFL Week 7. And Week 7 kicks off Saturday noon as we have the New Jersey Generals 5-1 taking on the Tampa Bay Bandits 3-3. The New Jersey Generals are laying 3.5 points in this game with a over-under of 42.5. Now, before we get into this breakdown, if you got 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it lets me know to keep making these videos. Now, we'll start with the New Jersey Generals. Quarterback DeAndre Johnson went out with an injury. He started off the game beautiful, 4 of 4, 52 yards, a touchdown. Got injured with about 5 minutes to go in the first, left the game. Not too big of a tragedy here for the Generals, as Luis Perez just took the remainder of the snaps. They've been off and on snaps all year long. Perez, he was fine the rest of the game. 75% completion percentage, 159 yards, had a touchdown, and also engineered a game-winning drive. Very nice. The rushing game was decent, but the highlight of the Generals was Kevontae Turpin. 3 of 28 on the ground, but really excelled in the passing game. Caught 10 balls, 106 yards, scored 2 touchdowns, and this guy's cuts in and out of movements, very similar to what you would see on a NFL Sunday. The ability to stop on a dime, make a defender miss, juke move, burst of speed, and moving. He really put his moves on display this weekend. Great showing from Kevontae Turpin. Look to see how he builds on that moving forward with 2 more games in the regular season and then a playoff push. Defense, they were good. This defense, one of the better defenses in the league. They're averaging giving up 17.5 points per game. However, they have given up their most points since week 1 last week, and now they've gone 2 games back-to-back without any sacks. They're going to have to get the pressure going again like they had in the beginning of the year if they want to remain successful and go ahead and push for this thing. As far as the Bandits are concerned, Jordan Ta'amu had his best day so far in this league. 333 yards, 4 touchdowns. He hit 9 different receivers for completions, really spread the ball around. He also led the team in rushing. He had 61 yards. The rest of the running backs were not efficient at all. And it was really strange because they played a Philadelphia Stars team that had just previously given up 250 yards in Week 4 and Week 5 to their opposition. They only had 45 yards on 20 carries, minus what Ta'amu did. So they struggled there. Tight end Shanae O'Grady caught 2 touchdowns. You know, he's been a playmaker for this Bandits team. It was nice to see him get it back in the end zone. As far as the defensive side is concerned, they've given up 35 points their last game against Philadelphia. That's the most all year. They averaged 22.5. The pick here in this game is going to be the Generals. I mean, this line opened up Generals -3. I immediately liked it. Since gone to 3.5, I still like it. New Jersey's won 5 games in a row, and in 4 out of their 5 wins, they've covered this number. They've won by at least 4 or more, and then exceeding that. So the pick here is the New Jersey Generals. Let's move on to the next game. Now, before we get into the next game, reminder, this is Burgundy Bets. We gamble on football and we cash tickets. If that's your type of thing, you're in the right spot. Go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. We're going to have our fantasy draft rankings for this coming NFL season out shortly. And obviously, once the season drops, player props, totals, we're going to be getting all those lines. Your next game will be the New Orleans Breakers 4-2, laying 6 points against the 1-5 piss-poor Michigan Panthers with a over-under of 41.5 in this game. We'll start with New Orleans. It's really clear that Kyle Lauletta is just playing hurt. He's playing through injuries. He's not himself. And you can see it on the field. 13 of 21, 92 yards, his lowest output so far of the year. They really had to rely on the rushing game last week. And Anthony Jones put up for him. 22 attempts, 102 yards, a touchdown. Jordan Ellis got into the end zone as well on 47 yards. Twan Taylor led this team in receiving, only received 40 yards. I mean, like we said, Slaughter did not have his best performance. He's obviously playing injured. You know, hopefully he can, depending how the seeding works, maybe if they win next week, they'll be able to sit him for the Week 8 game and then have him healthy to go into the playoffs, because this New Orleans team is only going to go as far as Kyle Slaughter takes them. As far as the defense is concerned, they did get help on the defensive side as well to win that game against the Maulers. Ike Brown caught a pick 6 on the goal line and took it back to the house for a touchdown. The New Orleans Breakers now lead the league with lowest points allowed at 101, and they're averaging giving up 16.8 points per game. But once again, this team rides and dies on the arm of Kyle Slaughter. Hopefully he can get some sort of treatment and get back to his self that we've seen through the first 5 weeks of the season. As far as the Michigan Panther side of things, Shea Patterson, he does what Shea Patterson does. We really haven't been impressed by him all year long. 209 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He did also have a rushing touchdown. Reggie Corbin led the team on the ground with 71 yards on 16 totes. Once again, Lance Lenore Jr., the bright spot on this team. I keep saying it week in and week out, led the team with 82 yards on 9 balls. The defense has been just not doing well. This is a Jeff Fisher-led team. You would think the defense would be good. The kicking game actually was very good last week. 2-2 on extra points and a 56-yard attempt. That was very nice. That went in for them. But since the Week 3 shutout of Pittsburgh, Week 4 they've given up 27. Week 5 they've given up 26. And now last week they give up 33 points. I think this game could go over. In the last 3 weeks, Fox Bet actually put out a cool tweet. The last 3 weeks, overs are 11-1. And like I said, 3 out of the 4 games last week did go over 50 points. So 41 might be a little light here. If we know Slaughter is good to go and hopefully he's feeling better, we're going to lay this 6 points all day. Let's just, once again, we got to check the practice reports Wednesday and Friday, see if he's a full go there. Your pick in this game would be New Orleans. Let's just make sure and hope Kyle Slaughter is feeling better going into next week onto the Sunday slate. And your USFL Week 7 Sunday action will be a 2 o'clock Eastern start as we have the 6-0 undefeated Birmingham Stallions taking on the 1-5 Pittsburgh Maulers. Now, this is one of the biggest spreads we've seen, if not the biggest this year. I believe it is, with the Stallions laying 12.5 points to the Maulers and a over-under of 41 points. We'll start with the Stallions first. Jamar Smith, not the best completion percentage that he's had all year. He went 12 of 25, 48%. He did have 135 yards, 2 TDs. Alex Mogo came in, made some plays, 2 of 3, 46 yards, but he also had 35 yards rushing and a touchdown. Bo Scarborough had a huge day on the ground. 105 yards on 16 totes. He got into the end zone. Osiris Mitchell led the team in receiving yards, had 63 yards on 4 balls. The defense, now 4 straight games of 17 points or less and 4 straight games of 3+ sacks. This defense is very good. It's the front 7. It's one of the reasons why they are undefeated. They can put pressure on these quarterbacks and they make mistakes. As far as the Pittsburgh Mauler side of things, Vlad Lee, as we thought after engineering that game-winning drive last week, he did come in. He did see every snap. He went 17 of 34, 198 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. He also ran a touchdown in on the ground. As far as rushing, though, the team was not good. Collectively, they had 33 attempts other than Vlad and had 83 yards. That's less than 3 yards a carry. Not very good. Bailey Gaither is still a dog. He did have miscommunications with Vlad Lee. I think he was 0 of 5 on his first 5 targets. And then the pick 6 we referenced from New Orleans with Ike Brown. Vlad, they're on the goal line. They're about to score a touchdown. He goes to throw it to Bailey. Bailey's not looking. It's pick 6. And Bailey Gaither responds directly after that on the next drive, making a beautiful contested catch into the end zone for a touchdown. We still like Bailey Gaither. He's a great wide receiver on this football team. Defensively, they're averaging giving up 23 points per game. Is 12.5 points a lot? Yes, it is. But believe it or not, Birmingham has covered this 12.5 in their last 2 wins. I'm not going to touch it. As far as the over-under, this is probably a game that goes over. It's very low. It's only 41. And we have seen, this offense get a bit better with Vlad Lee at the helm for Pittsburgh last week and when they had that game-winning drive the previous week. Your pick here is going to be over the 41. I'm not really interested on laying 12.5 points with Birmingham, but we don't bet on the Pittsburgh Maulers. Let's move on to the next game. Congratulations, if you made it this far into the video, this is my favorite play. Your nightcap for USFL Week 7 will be Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, as we have the 3-3 Philadelphia Stars laying 4 points to the 1-5 Houston Gamblers with a over-under of 44.5. We'll start with Philadelphia here. Case Cookus came out 11 of 20, only 73 yards all game. He did have 2 touchdowns. It was really the running game of Matt Colburn II that propelled this team last week. Full beast mode, 140 yards, 3 touchdowns, caught 2 balls. Tight end Bug Howard was the recipient of Case Cook's 2 touchdowns. The defense still gives up a ton of points. This Philadelphia Stars team has given up 153 points all year. That is worst in the USFL. However, they do have an opportunistic defense. They lead the league in interceptions with 8. Creating more opportunities for the offense. As far as the Houston Gamblers, boy, this team, the heartbreak for these guys. The Houston Gamblers have now lost 4 games in a row on last plays, 3 of the games by 1 point or less. Clayton Thorson, 15-19, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns. He has gotten much better than we've seen from him throughout the first 2 weeks of the season. Mark Thompson only had 23 yards, which was surprising. The rushing game really did struggle. He did catch 2 touchdowns out of the backfield, though. Theo Redding led the team in receiving and caught a 54-yard strike for a touchdown from Clayton Thorson. Listen, the Gamblers give up 23 points a game. Their defense is playing well, though. They had 5 sacks last game, including the fumble return from Thomasay Lalele. And I think this line's off. This should be a pick'em. The Houston Gamblers could very well easily be 3-3. I mean, they've lost 3 games by 1 point, and their last 4 have all come down to the wire. Your pick here is Houston plus the 4 and the Houston money line. I mean, how this game could play out, sure, Philadelphia did stop the run pretty well last week, but the 2 weeks before that, they were gashed on the ground. 250 yards week 4, 250 yards week 5. And Mark Thompson, as we saw through the first 4 weeks of the season, led the league and was a very dynamic rusher. I think Mark Thompson runs all over Philadelphia unless it wasn't an anomaly and they really did shore up that rushing D. I think Clayton Thorson keep these guys in it. And I just don't understand, why Philadelphia is favored in this game. My favorite play here is Houston plus the 4 and Houston money line. And that is USFL Week 7 picks and predictions. Now, we have this week, next week, then it will be the USFL playoffs for 2 weeks, and then we're just waiting on the NFL to start up. If you gamble on football, if you like DFS, anything along that nature, anything football, gambling related, this is your spot. You're in the right place. Go ahead, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have our fantasy rankings coming out. And then obviously once the NFL starts, player props, totals, spreads. And then I'll also have out a video for the NFL win totals. I'll give you a sneak in that. We're not taking any overs. It will be all unders. And hey, I love y'all. Let's have a great USFL Week 7 this weekend. I love y'all. Let's cash some tickets, eh?